I'm Dan Drake. This is Front Up on Visitor Network TV. Our guest today is Pam Merriam, the Director of Human Services for the town of Nantucket.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. Glad I finally made it and everything is working.
Well, we won't go into that. There's some changes going on in the Human Services Department, and so can you share those with us?
Sure. I just wanted to note first that it's great that we color coordinated here. I think that's really nice. Yes, I am not retiring from the workforce entirely, but I am moving back to the Cape. Mm-hmm. I've been here since 2001, and it's time for me to transition back.
You originally came as?
I originally came as the administrator of our island home, where I stayed until 2011 when the town did some reorganization. And at that point, I became the Director of Human Services, as my name tag says. And under that role, I've overseen the nursing home, the senior center, the adult day, veteran services, and Commission on Disability is under my purview, but they pretty much take care of themselves. This winter, I decided it was time for me to head back to the Cape, where I'd lived since I was 21, and sort of resume my life there. And so we figured, talking to Libby, what were we going to do with my position? Because one of the unique things about my position is that
it has a unique person in it.
Yeah, only in that I'm a licensed nursing home administrator. That's the only thing that makes me unique about that. And we needed that person to oversee the nursing home. So we considered, reorganizing. Maybe that wasn't going to be a responsibility. Maybe it was, and maybe we would take a different view of what the department would be. But after a lot of thought, probably in June, we approached Rachel Cretion, we being Libby and Greg and myself, and said, what do you think about this? And this means that Rachel will continue to be a part of our island home because she does many things well, but one of the things she does well is the financial oversight and overview.
Right. Human services function in the town has, as you pointed out, evolved somewhat in the last few years.
It has.
Many human services are provided by contractors, by outside agencies. There's a Human Services Review Committee, or Contract Review Committee, which takes care of those. And then you mentioned the ones that the town provides directly, the nursing home,
Veteran Services, Senior Center.
And the senior center, you mentioned senior daycare too, did you not?
I did, and that would be in the past.
That's gone away now.
Sadly, we had no attendees.
Right.
So, but yeah, a little more detail about what Human Services actually is doing now. And it does get confusing. But the Human Services that the town provides now also includes passport services. Ann Medina and I are certified passport agents. So we do passports 2 days a week because there was no one else on island doing them after they stopped where they were doing them in the town building. And we also have a senior tax work-off program where the seniors who are within a certain framework of income can apply to do some tasks for the town. In return, they will have some of their property taxes written off.
Abated, yes.
Yeah.
How many people participate in that?
I think we had 14 this year.
What sorts of things do they do? I know you don't want to get too specific.
No, that's fine. They we had several at DPW, and they did some special. They have to be special projects. They can't be jobs that could be filled by full-time people. So they may answer the phone, but there are special projects that Cara would come up with and say, okay, this piece needs to be done. And that would be done. And people love being out there. We had 2 at Plus. Same sort of thing. They might be at the front desk, or Andrew or Leslie may have something for them to do.
Plus being property and land use services, which is the sort of combined planning, building, plumbing.
All those guys out there, 2 fairgrounds. And then we had 2 at the island home, and they basically helped in activities. This year we have 2 at town administration, 1 who works as a greeter, and that position actually just started in July.
And why isn't that sort of what's the special project piece of that?
It's because it's time limited. It's just a summer position. So there was some time that this individual spent putting together a brochure and informational materials and all that. They only have 100 hours they can work.
Okay.
So he could spread that out over the course of a year, but for right now, he's Monday and Friday, 3 hours each
What
day.
about, were those people at the police station also covered by
The
that?
VIPs? And I'm not really sure what that acronym. Maybe it's very important persons, or.
Could
But
be.
that's headed by Kevin Marshall, and the people who work in that program can use their hours against their taxes as
But
well.
it's run separately from.
It's run separately, but their hours do count for the tax program.
Do you have an opinion, and can you share it with us, about sort of this announcement that was in the paper last week about the possibility of a not-for-profit running Sherwood Commons, and whether it makes sense to try ultimately to combine that function with what goes on in our island home? Not that they're necessarily totally compatible, but there are certain similarities to some
There
of them.
are, and I read what was in the paper, and I truly don't know much more than the general public does on this one.
But do you think it makes sense, conceptually, does it make sense to try to aim for some kind of combination?
Well, back in 2007, we actually had consultants come in and make a proposal to build a nursing home out on that property, and in the form of the greenhouse projects, which are little individual cottages of
Right.
10 people, not the cottages that are there now, but cottages that would house 10 residents. So we actually have that, those plans. It obviously didn't go forward. There is some talk about, maybe moving, salt marsh out there, and that's just talk. Nobody's really brought anything forward. I think right now what this group is trying to do is take what's there at Sherburne and get it working.
Getting stable.
And then once they stabilize, then they can maybe bring other things in. Because I know there was a part in the article that addressed other senior-related activities.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's committing to anything at this point.
No, I don't. I wasn't. I hope I wasn't suggesting that. What I
No.
was asking was whether it made conceptual sense to try to.
Oh, I definitely think it does. I mean, we had this wonderful utopian idea of having a whole senior campus out there, even including outpatient rehab and doctor's offices and all of that. Using the cottages and using the building. The nursing home cannot go into that building. Some people have asked that question. But because of the structure of that building, it doesn't meet code for a nursing home. So it would have to be a whole different structure. But I think it makes all the sense in the world. It could be beautiful out there for a lot of things.
Then obviously there's the debate about the location of where our island home is now.
Right.
And some people say it's beneficial to the patients, and some people say it's not. And
I think both of those are true. I think it's beneficial for the visitors, for the family members who have to go.
They feel good about it.
And it is beneficial for some of the residents. I mean, there are some, my husband lived there for a while, and he loved going out on the patio and looking at the water, and I understand that perspective, that people have lived lots of years, they should be able to enjoy that. My counter to that is they should also be able to have a private room and a private bathroom, and a little more dignity than that building can afford. So it's going to be a fun debate once it gets there. I know we have.
And you're just going to sit over on the Cape and laugh at
we'll
us.
see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. But there is funding in 2018 to look at construction of something somewhere. Where that is, we have yet to discuss.
Good.
So that's what
Is
that's
there anything
happening
else
there.
going on that we need to know about?
I don't think so. We will be, well, I guess there is. We're going to start interviewing for Rachel's replacement. We have a search firm who's been going through some initial interested people.
Did she come from off island as well?
Rachel?
Yes.
No, Rachel is a born and bred island girl. And I think one thing that might be important for people to think about as we're going through the replacement for Rachel in that position is when I came in 2001, I was one of two candidates who even showed an interest. The other was Toppy, who happened to be a licensed home administrator and said, if you can't find anybody else, I'll do it. So it's, we're going to give a really good effort to find the best person possible, but there is no other licensed nursing home administrator on the island. We know that for a fact. And we groomed Rachel to do that, and she'll still be involved and still be overseeing it. So we want to bring in someone who can do the day-to-day and the management of the staff, so Rachel can do the higher level stuff and still oversee human services. So she'll still be involved with the contract review committee and the council on aging and the council for human services.
Good. Well, thank you. I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you for your service
Thank you.
to the
It's
town and
been
people of
interesting.
Nantucket for the last 10 years or so, and we wish you well in your retirement.
Thanks. And I was a little afraid of moving to the position of Director of Human Services because it was all brand new to me. But I've learned so much in the last 3 years. I've been involved with housing and funeral homes and all sorts of things that probably would have never come my way if I hadn't been able to do that. So it's been interesting.
Good. Well, thank you, PamMeriam.
Well, thank you.